Emily Carter had always believed she'd spend the rest of her life with her husband, Mark. They met in college, married at 25, and built a small but happy life together in a quiet neighborhood of Oregon. Mark was kind, funny, and had a way of making ordinary moments feel extraordinary. His best friend, Daniel Hayes, was practically family. He was at every barbecue, every birthday, and even helped build their back porch one summer. But when a sudden illness took Mark's life, Emily's world shattered overnight. The days after his funeral blurred together, faces, flowers, condolences, and endless silence once everyone went home. The house that once felt warm and alive now echoed with emptiness. She would wake up and forget, for a split second, that Mark was gone, until the stillness reminded her all over again. Daniel came by every few days at first, always respectful, always gentle. He never stayed long. Sometimes he dropped off groceries, sometimes just a coffee and a note that said, "Thinking of you today." One afternoon, about a month later, Emily found him on her porch fixing the loose step Mark had always meant to repair. She tried to protest. "You don't have to do that, Daniel," but he only smiled and said, "I promised Mark I'd look out for you, Em. Let me keep that promise." Those words hit her like a wave. He wasn't there to replace Mark. He was there because he had loved him like a brother. And in that quiet understanding, something began to shift. Not love, not yet, but a slow, healing companionship. Over the following weeks, Daniel became a steady presence. He helped Emily clear the garden that had grown wild, fixed the squeaky front door, and even taught her how to change a tire. He never pushed her to move on. Instead, he reminded her to breathe, to eat, to walk, to live. One day, while sorting through old photo albums, Emily found a note from Mark. It was tucked inside a photo of the three of them at the lake, the summer before his diagnosis. The note simply said, "If I'm not around someday, promise me you'll let Daniel help you. He's family." She wept for hours that night, tears of grief and gratitude mixed together. Daniel found her the next morning sitting on the porch steps, the note in her lap. He didn't say a word. He just sat beside her. That silence, filled with understanding, was exactly what she needed. As months turned into a year, Emily began to rediscover pieces of herself she thought were gone. She took up painting again, something Mark had always encouraged her to do. Daniel even built her a small studio in the shed behind her house. "You need a place to dream again," he'd said, handing her a brush. They started volunteering together at a local community center, helping widows and veterans adjust to life after loss. Through it, Emily met people who had walked similar paths. Their stories of heartbreak, resilience, and rediscovery, gave her courage. One spring morning, as they were setting up tables for a charity event, Daniel asked, "Do you ever think Mark would be proud of you?" Emily smiled faintly. "I hope so. I think he'd like that I'm finally painting again." "He'd be more than proud," Daniel said. "He'd be grateful you didn't let the light go out." For the first time in years, Emily felt peace wash over her. Not because the pain was gone, it never truly left, but because she'd learned to live with it, to let it become part of her story instead of the whole thing. Their friendship deepened in quiet, meaningful ways. They laughed again, they shared meals, they reminisced about Mark without sadness overwhelming them. The love that grew between them wasn't sudden, it was patient, steady, and grounded in respect. When Emily finally decided to move into a smaller house, Daniel helped her pack. As they loaded the last box, she turned to him and said softly, "I couldn't have done any of this without you." Daniel's eyes softened. "You didn't need me, Em. You just needed someone to remind you that you're still strong." He stayed quiet for a moment, then added, "Mark always said you had the kindest heart." He wasn't wrong. Tears filled her eyes, but this time, they weren't from sorrow. They were from gratitude, for Mark, for Daniel, and for the second chance at peace that life had given her. Years later, Emily stood at Mark's grave with Daniel beside her. The wind brushed softly through the trees as she laid a single white lily down. "I kept your promise," she whispered. "And I think you'd be happy about how things turned out." Daniel reached for her hand, not in possession, but in shared remembrance. Together, they smiled toward the sky. The pain of loss had transformed into something beautiful, a life rebuilt, a friendship that healed, and a love born not from replacing what was lost, but honoring it. Emily finally understood that moving forward didn't mean forgetting. It meant carrying the love forward, and sharing it with the world. And in that moment, surrounded by peace, she realized something Mark had always said. Love doesn't end, it just changes shape.